Okay, here we have Gene Odom, and I call Gene here cold, and Gene he works best when he's called cold anyway. But we got a little celebration going here, Gene, for Ronnie Van Zant's birthday on the podcast, and I just wanted to call you and ask you any thoughts on Ronnie Van Zant on his birthday, and anything you want to say that surrounding his birthday and wish him a best heavenly, happy heavenly birthday. Anything you want to say about Ronnie, Gene?
Well, I miss him, number one. I miss my old fishing buddy. And I'm sure he's up there sitting on a log with a fishing pole in his hands. And I hope everybody that remembers him, remembers him on his birthday, and I miss him a lot.
And recently, Craig, he's been looking for his tackle box, that tackle box that you guys carried around and you went fishing. And, I guess it was Ronnie's tackle box, but he let everybody use it. And you used to use it all the time. And you remember that tackle box, don't you, Gene?
Well, yes and no, because, at 76 years old, I'm having trouble remembering me. Remember my name. But I had my own tackle box also in his tackle box, and I'm sure there's a pack of Winstons in there and a box of wooden matches and some plastic worms, some slide sinkers, and some hooks that I know is in that tackle box. I don't know what else might have been in it, since the last time I saw it, but.
Well, Craig opened it up last time he had it, and then he he got something out of it, and I think it was a goofy bobber. It looks like Goofy, and then he put it away so he wouldn't lose it, and then he couldn't find it, and everybody's been on his ass trying to find that tackle box, and he finally found it, and he does know that there's a Popeil pocket fisherman in there. You remember those, Gene?
Yeah.
Do you remember Ronnie using that Popeil pocket fisherman in there? I guess you can't take a fishing rod on the plane, so that's probably why he had it like that. But do you remember anything about that?
Not that, and I lost so much memory, with that head injury and everything. Some things I can't remember. If I saw it, then the memory might come back, but I can't remember it right off the top of my head.
Yeah,
like a fisherman thing,
And when Ronnie was out on the road, and he got some spare time to go fishing, do you recall any of the places, like other than Florida, that he went, like anywhere that you can think of when you guys were on tour where Ronnie said, "Hey, let's go. I hear there's a lake over here. Let's go hit it." Anything like that?
Not on the tour that I was on. I mean, the only time we went fishing on the tour that I was on was we went to go sturgeon fishing up in, I think it was Seattle, somewhere like that.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think Craig told me Craig was on that trip too. I believe he remembers that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, Craig, before I went with him full time there at January or February, when they did a lot of traveling, lots and lots and lots of tours and traveling before I went with them, and Craig probably knows some spots that they stopped at, that when I wasn't around, Craig probably talk more about those when they were touring and on the road when I wasn't around them,
And Craig did say that Ronnie took him jigger fishing, and that's one of the things that you did with Ronnie. So.
Yeah, I taught him how to jigger fish. Yeah.
Oh, you're the guy who came up with that, huh?
Yeah, I taught him how to jigger fish and showed him scared him to death from his out of his house one day about that Jaws, the alligator, and we were jigger fishing, and I told him I scared him a couple times. Like, "What's that Jaws?" And he's watching me quit that, And then I hollered at one more time. I said, "Man, there's Jaws!" And just as I said that, a mullet jumped out of the water and hit him in the stomach. scared the piss out of him. He jumped up and stomped that mullet. He was screaming, hollering, scared the piss. He thought it was Jaws got him. And I'll never forget that long as I live.
Oh, that's one I hadn't heard yet.
Yeah, man, scared the dog piss out of him, and he stomped that mullet, crushed it, head over it. What the heck? I said, that mullet didn't ever do anything to you. He went, let's go home. Let's go home. All right, let's go. I done scared the piss out of him because he was scared to hell of alligators and the not the dark, but he was scared of any kind of something that could eat him. You know what I mean? I mess with him all the time.
Okay, Gene. Well, I just want to give you a quick call and ask you to say a few words on the podcast in celebration of your fishing buddy Ronnie, and we're all thinking about him, and we're glad that we got some good news about your prostate thing that you had going on, and so many people are so thankful that you got some good news, that it was a false positive on that turns out there was no cancer. So that's got to be a relief, huh?
Oh my God, unbelievable. I went in there, expecting the bad news when they finally got the results back. And the first thing he said, he's a cool as hell doctor, great doctor. He said, man, I see this 20, 30 times a day, Mr. Odom. He said, very seldom am I ever wrong. He said, now look, I'm wrong. And I'm kind of like, what's he talking about? He said, Mr. Odom, you have zero cancer. He said, I was 100% sure you had it. And he said, you got zero cancer. I'm so happy about it. You? I said, I'm happy as hell about that. I said, that's the best news I ever got.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of people were praying for you, and that Gene Odom luck couldn't stand up against all those Lynyrd Skynyrd nation prayers. So it seemed like it worked. So we're happy that you got the good news.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody that prayed for me and had some good words for me and good wishes. I appreciate it. At my age, that's the best news. What he said, that's the best news a guy your age can get.
Yeah, I'm telling you, because there's still a lot of things left we need to do.
Yeah, we got to go fishing right off the bat here as soon as the weather warms up a little bit.
That's right. All right, Gene, thanks for talking to us and sharing the story and celebrating this Ronnie VanZant podcast here with us.
And thank all y'all for remembering on his birthday. I appreciate it.
All righty. Bye-bye, Gene. Okay, Joe Kremp just called me, and coincidentally, which is perfect timing. And, I told Joe, I said, hey, man, we're having a Ronnie VanZant bash here on the podcast, and we've got the tackle box that Craig found, and we're going to go through it. And then Joe goes, I got a story about that tackle box. And then also he has an update on Randall Hall. So let's go ahead and talk about that story that you were telling me about the tackle box there first, Joe Kremp. And Joe, man, it's good to hear from you. And let's hear that story about Ronnie and the tackle box.
Okay, well, one day we were fishing over there in his backyard. He had that little canal that came up there, on Brickyard Road over there. And we caught some fish and all that kind of stuff, and was having a good time. And I had to leave, so we were going back through the house, and he stopped by the front door right there, and there was a big closet right there. And he reached in there and he pulled out, he said, I want to give you this. And he had a Popeil pocket fisherman he wanted to give to me. And we both just kind of laughed. And I said, I guess you think I need this thing or something, But it was pretty funny. But it just makes me wonder if it was maybe even still the same tackle box, the one that Craig has. That I guess maybe it's possible it was still same tackle box that he was using because of the time period,
Yeah, and there's a Popeil pocket fisherman in there, so either he bought a few of them and had a couple in there and gave one to you, or in that one that he gave to you, maybe you gave it back, but there's one in there. So
yeah, that's very possible because the one he gave me, I don't have it no more, and I don't remember exactly what the hell happened to it. lighter. And we laughed and kidded about that because it would always, get really hot in your pocket and stuff, And I said, you just want me to burn my damn leg is what it is here.
Yeah.
We laughed and kidded about that. But it was really a nice lighter. I can't remember if he had his name or his initials engraved in it or not. But and I might still have that somewhere. But it just makes me think because sure do miss him like a lot of other people do. And the stories that you just don't forget sometimes,
Yeah, and to have, you here to tell it, I mean, the people that were really close to Ronnie and you were there in the early days at Hell House, and you knew all the guys in the band and you would even jump on the drums and help them out sometimes with things, and you guys shared the Hell House and Ronnie was helping you guys trying to break you into the music business with Slowpoke and it's just it's really good to hear from somebody that was close and knew Ronnie well, and just like we just talked to Gene and so that's great. Appreciate that, Gene, and everybody Joe and everybody that everybody that likes to hear from Joe Kremp. And now you got an update on Randall Hall too. Let's talk about that.
Well, we've been chatting back and forth a little bit, and I wanted to give you an update. He said he really appreciates the help that y'all are giving him, and he said that he just had to go through another surgery. He just had a total knee replacement done about a week and a half ago. So he said it's a pretty bad recovery. So he's having a hard time recovering with that too, I guess. I need to get back with him and see how he's doing. He's making better progress.
He still has like a neck issue, like something that he has to have fixed in his neck, right?
Yeah, well, he went through a surgery back there on his neck and his shoulder and all. That was giving him, such a fit, from holding that heavy Les Paul through the years and all. But I think he said that might have helped a little bit, but I don't think all the way.
Right.
But I'll talk to him next time. I'll try to get an update on that too, But he's just, we're thinking about him because I know he's been going through a rough time. I mean, even some of the gigs he's been able to do, I mean, it'd have to wheel him down the hallway at the airport in a wheelchair, because his knee had gotten so bad, And I said, that's probably from you jumping up and down like Alan Collins did during Freebird.
Yeah.
And he laughed and he said, yeah, it's very possible.
I tell you what, though, old Randall Hall, man, he was a great replacement for Alan Collins, and I, you don't see a lot of Randall, playing guitar on the internet, but every now and then something will come up and you'll see and you'll be like, wow, what an amazing guitar player, and he nails the Freebird,
Oh, definitely.
Oh yeah, and well, next time you see him, Joe, remember that painting that I brought you over, that copy of the Hell House.
He knows it.
Yeah, take it to him. Take it to him, man. Put a smile on his face, right?
I will. It's just that he lives way on the other side of town, but his sister lives on the west side, so we definitely got to meet up and have lunch, and somehow I could have, but we didn't think about doing it when we went to that party that John Rehammer had over there.
Oh yeah, that would have been.
Yeah, I can remember Randall was there, and Derek was there, and everybody was there. And we got thinking about it later, and we said, "Oh hell, we could have took the damn painting to him at that point."
Well, that's okay. There's still plenty of time for it. And then you and we need to go jump in the car. I need to come up there. We need to go over there where the teen club used to be and try to find where that oak tree you're in my way is. We know it's not there anymore.
John Eads' old house.
Yeah, so we're going to do that, right, Joe? We're going to go over there and retrace the steps of that evening when you and Gary were in the car, and a lot of people don't realize Joe Kremp was in the car with Gary when he hit the oak tree, and the song, of course, was coined about it, and so that's we're talking to the guy right now who was there, so that's amazing.
kind of hard to
There's a
believe
lot more to
sometimes.
that story that people don't realize too, about how you ended up in the carport and at the house over there. It was Joe Eads' house.
John
John Eads.
Eads.
Yeah, John
Yeah,
Eads.
he worked downtown at Paul's Music Store with Derek Hess.
Yeah, which is crazy. Even Derek, he remembers that too. So,
Yeah, John was in charge of all string instruments. In fact, he rebuilt my violin that I brought back from Portland, Oregon. That was my great uncle Joe's. He redid that whole violin for me, maybe a new bow and all that stuff.
well, how's
Yeah,
things
John,
going?
he
How
passed away. I wish he was still here.
Oh yeah, yeah. How's things going with the band Vinyl? A lot of people they don't realize Joe Kremp has a band named Vinyl, and you guys, matter of fact, you're getting ready to go to practice, aren't you?
Yeah, so we took about a month off, and we had a break in some gigs, so we just got back, started back this past week, rehearsing, and we're going to rehearse again tonight, and so we got some stuff coming up, so we're just having fun, and that's what it's all about.
Yes, sir. And I've seen you guys. I haven't seen your new guitar player and singer yet, but I'm gonna have to get up there and check that out. But anybody that is in the Jacksonville.
You've seen Damon. No, Ronnie had to take a break because of some health issues, and Alto's playing keyboards and singing with us.
Oh, okay, cool. When's your next gig?
Oh, it's coming up quick. It's at the end of the month up here, the 26th or something like that. Up here on the west side, or in Orange Park, I should say.
Yeah, anybody that wants to hire a good band that does some great music, Vinyl, man, check into it. And you guys, you're always out doing something there in the Jacksonville area, and it's some great music, great musicians. So
Just got to keep on playing.
keep on playing, yeah, keep on going. All right, Joe. Well, I know you got to get ready for your practice, and I appreciate you calling me. And it was coincidental, but man, it's worked out great, and everybody's going to enjoy the story. So
Yeah, what a surprise! Like I said, I was going to comment on the post that you put up, and I said, well, maybe I'll just give Griff a quick call.
awesome. All right, thank you, Joe, and we'll be talking to you later. I'll give you a call.
Great hearing from you too, Griff.
All right, later.
I love you, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, man. Okay, here we have Derek Hess, and I'm kind of bugging Derek Hess today. He's got something he's doing. He's busy, and I cold called him, and he's cool enough to come on the podcast here.
I'm cool. You can cold call me because I'm cool. Go ahead.
Yeah. Derek's cool. He is a cool son of a bitch now. Anyway, so I don't know if you know what happened, but Craig, he found Ronnie VanZant's tackle box that that with all the old lures in it that Ronnie used to fish with. And
I'm a fisherman too, so I can speak the language. Sinkers, lures, plastic. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, so on the podcast, we're going to go through all that stuff. And talk about it. And then I thought, well, I'll call a few people, we're celebrating Ronnie VanZant's birthday, and what cooler of a guy to talk to than Derek Hess, who, everybody knows.
Your information.
Well, you don't think you offer anything, Derek, but you do, man. You just, and we got a video of you that Chad recorded, but problem was the sound wasn't any good. Couldn't hear anything.
There was too low volume. The audio was bad. Well, maybe we'll try another one of those because I would like to get with you guys and Craig to do a little romp, on the podcast sometime. We're getting a little deeper in some stuff and funny stories and how everything kind of came about, and all that. So but happy birthday, Ronnie. I mean, he was I'll roll for a second. Yeah, he was a couple of years older than all of us, and he always just seemed like always tried to put my finger on what just a cool guy was. Always very kind and to me and just gracious, and he seemed like he was left over from the 50s in terms of his presence and his just disposition, and he seemed to know his limitations, but he was so self-confident, and I always called him men among boys, and there were some boys in that band, but we'll leave that there. So
right, yeah. Well, Ronnie was an old soul. I guess we can all
yeah,
agree
yeah.
on that. But any kind of a story comes to mind, something short and sweet?
Well, there are several, but I'll try to nail one or two real quick. Like, 'cause I know you got other participants on this thing, which is a great thing you're doing. But yeah, I would say, everybody knows about the comic book club days back in the beginning. Some of the bands, Skynyrd before they were Skynyrd, or during the transition from the 1% to Lynyrd Skynyrd. I remember hearing about their name the first time, and lo and behold, we ran into them, me and Barry Harwood, and they're a great band. We were really good. We had some real talented players in our band, and we had a guy who probably was just really excelling in slide guitar. His name was David Case, and we lost him like a few months ago, sadly, and Eddie Kreminger. And we, of course, a lot of bands back then, all they did was covers, and we took on the Deep Purple stuff and Jethro Tull and some blues crap, and it's a really exceptionally different, unique band, and we were very young in our late teens, and so we both bands ended up being landed on the comic book stage downtown Jacksonville. Got to talk about it. Just a seedy, dangerous place to be. As long as you were on stage, you were safe, I guess you could say. But there was an upstairs. It was an old one of the very original, probably 2-story warehouse office buildings in old west side of Jacksonville, downtown Forsyth Street. And it's kind of abandoned upstairs. It was kind of spooky. It had all this open floor space, and we made arrangements with the current owner or manager, Jimmy Provost, to rehearse upstairs or when we weren't playing on his stage. And there was happy hour, activities going on. We didn't do those. We were too young to do that, but we did play on stage in a liquor bar. And just one evening, we came off on a break, and we knew who Skynyrd was, and I think they had already had that 145. I think it was Need All My Friends and Michelle. I think that was the first, notable 45. And it was on their jukebox. It was kind of cool to hear that they had recorded. Now, we'd recorded some stuff too, but they were already on vinyl. And then, and they just really seemed to be, just digging in hard and making their way. And they were going to, make it or, to be damned or whatever, make it or be damned. And so we come off stage, and Ronnie's kind of leaning up against one of the pillars in the bar along the dance floor, and he said, "Man, you guys rock it, man. You guys are great." And we didn't hardly know them at the time, but we got to know them pretty quick, being in the same bar and sharing the same practice room. But anyhow, some years later, I think not long after, it was the Pronounced album, and then we were very envious, but proud to know them. And that was, we didn't know where this was headed, who could have known, but the album did pretty well. Got some airplay on the radio, and then the next thing I know, and like I said, they knew Barry Harwood and myself probably the most of the local Jacksonville musicians, and we were getting excelling and really getting good in our craft as well. And so I worked at a music store at the time, but probably the Southeast largest music store downtown, Paulus Music, and we carried everything, guitars, amps, drums, all the brand names, had a piano department upstairs, sold massive amounts of sheet music, and it was a huge operation. I ran the drum department and had long hair, and it was a fun time because, I was young and married with a baby, and I was meeting all these other musicians around Jacksonville that I didn't know from our side of the river, which was kind of Arlington, North Carolina. Skynyrd was from the west side, and Paxson and whatever. And so one Christmas, we had this little cheap 3-piece drum sets. I mean, 3-piece meaning a snare drum, a rack tom, and a floor tom, and maybe a cymbal stand mounted on the bass drum. And you're on your own as far as a throne and getting your own stick. So anyway, they were $99.99. Had a couple of sets in our little showroom window, and Skynyrd was kind of, they were getting some clout by then, and of course, Allman Brothers were flying by then, and so in walks Ronnie and Gary Rosington, and I said, "Hey guys," and the funniest thing is my hair was kind of long. I had pretty straight, stringy hair, and I was wearing these ridiculous clothes. Just had the look. I mean, just god awful yellow double knit slacks, tan patent leather shoes, kind of matching golf shirt. I just looked adorable. So, but we're Ronnie wants to buy a 3-piece set of drums for his younger brother Johnny, who probably at the time was probably 8 or 9. We're talking about 1972 or 71.
Wow.
And so,
cool.
yeah, way back in the beginning. And I always kind of enjoyed the few times I got to be around Ronnie. He just had this cool vibe about him. His white T-shirt, blue jeans, and white loafers, shoes. And I just thought it was the coolest look. And like I said, he had that 50s vibe about him. But anyway, so after the transaction, they pick out the color they want, probably some gold sparkle or orange or whatever, some pearly looking stuff. And we're outside and we're loading them in the trunk of one of their cars and we're just chatting away. And he said Ronnie kind of always would bring Barry into the conversation because he knew we were in our own band. He always respected us. And he starts saying, "When are you going to," he's just kind of dropping hints that I didn't know at first. "When are you in Harvard going to start doing what you love, what you're really good at, and where your heart's at?" And I kind of finally got what he meant, that get your band, get started kicking ass, you quit your job and make the band famous, and they were nowhere near they were getting. And so, and I said, Ronnie, I said, I'm married and young, was a young baby, and I said, I just don't know. Well, I don't know how to even put that into words, how to not to defend it, but where to go with an answer. And so then he says, "I'll tell you something, Derek." He says, Skynyrd's, we got our first album out, and we've just signed a new record deal with the MCA. And I went, "What?"
Wow.
And then we all knew who they were then. He says, "Yeah, Al Cooper, we know the Al Cooper backstory to Skynyrd and the Sounds of the South album, and apparently Al made a deal with MCA. They talked up the money and the sale of the Skynyrd rights, and the rest is history." And he says, I was like, my God, so my God, look at this, look what's happening to these guys, and the hard work was paying off because they were on the road all the time, and I just didn't know if I could handle that anyway. So he says, "We're thinking about making a switch at drums," and of course I knew who Bob was, I knew the whole band, but I didn't know all of them great. I mean, probably Ronnie and Leon the best, and I don't even think Billy was even in the band yet. I could be wrong, but so he's kind of proceeds to tell me. He says, "We're thinking we're going to make a change at drums, and Bob's not working out, and we got this new change in our plans and our future, and we're really going for it. And I think we have a great, strong band, writing good material." Ed King was in the band then too, of course. And so he just drops on me. He says, "Do you think you'd be interested in being Lynyrd Skynyrd's drummer?" I was like, "What?" I was totally speechless.
Really?
I was all of my tongue. Yeah, he looks right at me, dead in the face. And Gary had that kind of nodded in approval. He was always kind of quiet then, but I said, "Gee," I said, come and say that again?" And he says, "Well, we're going to make a change at drums. We got a new record deal, and he says, we're not looking back." So I said, "God," I said, "I'm totally shocked, and well, I'm like I am now." So without words, I didn't know what to say. And he says, "I think by the very same time we both said, can we have time to think about it?" And I said, "Let me think this over. I got to talk this over at home." And I said, "This is a huge decision for me, and lifestyle change, everything, and being gone a lot. I just wasn't sure I wanted to do it. And who knew where these guys were going?" But anyhow, we ended up kind of leaving it at that day. They drove off, and like they say, the rest is history. So the next thing I'm hearing several months later is I'm breaking it. They're breaking it on local radio. I just fell over. Listen to that. Bob was still in the band. I'm going, wow, they kept Bob, and it sounds awesome. I'm thinking, of course, in the back of my mind, you dumbass.
Yeah, like if you'd have just said knee-jerk reaction, "Yes, I'll take it." It could have changed your life. Yeah,
it could have, and all my friends have always said it could have changed or ended my life.
For the bad, for the bad too.
It really could have. Really could have.
That's true. Yeah.
Look at it that way. I was always proud to know those guys, and proud to know that they were my friends, and they respected, and we respected each other's gifts and how the musicians we all were, and then I got to be on share stage with the rest of the Skynyrd boys, and we were RCB was just freaking lights out strong. I mean, that band was so powerful.
Yeah, and I was about to say, you're no slouch yourself on Rice and Collins band. You're a lay low kind of guy. It's people don't realize, like, you got a lot of cool skills. Like, we were talking because I live in Winter Haven, and you said, I like to barefoot ski, and I was like, no shit.
I can still, and that's stepping off a slalom in a 75-foot rope, not hanging on a pole.
That's crazy.
Bolted to the boat. I mean, stepping off the ski, and I don't say I do it every summer, but I could. And my voice loves sports. I'm a skier, a boater, and fish, and just love everything outdoors, camping and all that. But yeah, I know I'm a player. I'm Mark. Too bad it didn't last long. And on that note, one of the coolest ever affirmations as a player and being in Harvard just grew together. He's a talented
guy.
He's a monster in the world of guitar, the world of guitarists. And I've heard this over and over from everywhere. This monster, talented songwriter and guitar player is. And so once when I'm going to jump ahead. So anyway, Sweet Home Alabama. I'm hearing that. I'm going, oh my God. And so. Real quick finish of this first stage of this story was I was playing a little bar on one of the Holiday Inn lounges, God on on the west side somewhere. And I knew, and I think maybe myself, Steve Perez, Randall Hall, and not Barry so much, and Wayne Odom, we went over to when Skynyrd was their rehearsal studio that's renowned on Riverside Avenue. It transitioned into, or doubled as a recording studio with some pretty nice gear in it. Kevin Elson was kind of heading that up. So we made arrangements with Kevin, and we went in and recorded a couple of originals. And of course, the guys knew who we were. And then we came back one Saturday for a mix down. We could see the boys were in town, and they were working in Steve Gaines. And it's like, holy smoke. And they're as sweet as could be. And I remember Gary Rosington shaking my hand for about 10 minutes straight because they were hearing what we recorded in their studio, and they hadn't even recorded it yet. It was kick-ass tune. I'll kind of direct you to what the song was, and the whole band was like, my God, that shit kicks ass. It was all instrumental stuff. We were kind of in the influences of the Chick Corea, the jazz rock fusion that was kind of taking over back then. And so real quick, and I'll let you go. I was on the way home late one evening, like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I saw a big tractor trailer, and I don't know if there's a bus there or not, just some activity at their place. And so I think it was about 2 in the morning. So I hopped out of my car, the little Volkswagen, and I ran into a guy named Dorman Cogburn, who was kind of standing guard outside, and I could hear the thundering and bellowing inside. So I said, is that the boys? He goes, yeah. I said, they're in rehearsing. He says, you probably can't go in there. It's kind of a private thing. I said, watch me.
Right. Yeah.
Watch me. So I walk in, he goes, Derek, I don't think so. So he gave up pretty quick. So I walked down this hallway, kind of dark and gloomy. One of those, like, it's another rundown area of Jacksonville, the blighted area. And the closer I got to where they were, louder and louder, and the stronger it got. And so I turned the corner, and it was fucking incredible, the sound.
Oh, I bet.
And they practiced it high volume, mic'd up, PA. It was just absolutely just monstrous. And I was like, I felt then I was kind of taking a chance, and I think I caught a couple of their eyes, and Ed looked up, and then Ronnie looks at me. Remember how sometimes on stage he'd raise both arms up to end the song?
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
Well, he did that, and the song came to a screeching halt. It was so funny. I'm going, oh, shit, what about that? But I knew they recognized me, and Ronnie goes, Derek Hess. He says, man, what are you doing over here this time of night? I said, you wouldn't want to know. And he says, man, great to see you. He says, then he says, what are you and Barry doing? I said,
oh, man.
And he's talked to me the whole time over the microphone. It was kind of a little bit, my butt puckered a little bit.
Well, yeah, he
was under the spotlight. The whole band's glaring at me while he's talking to me. It was pretty funny. And just sweet as he could be. And I think he finally came over and shook my hand, gave me a little, the brother chest bump hug. And I was there probably 20 minutes, and I got to say and listen to a few more minutes of the rehearsal, and it's pretty awesome. So, and then the rest is history, like they say. So I knew by then. I'm sorry, it's probably into the third album. They already had Artemis, so I knew I was out because they had a new drummer, and I missed my chance. Like I said, I never know. And I sometimes, all these years later, I think maybe I came along at the perfect time because the music we were doing was more my stick. You know what I'm saying? Positive Collins was a little more of a bluesy, funky, kind of a sassy version of Southern rock, especially with Dale and Barry and myself. So.
Yeah, and I think Barry Harwood even had an opportunity. Ronnie kind of wanted him. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, and that's why he's on some of their earlier albums. You know, those little cameo.
Yeah.
Appearances on Dobro and Mandolin. Oh yeah, they were after him hard when Ed left, real hard.
And just one more thing there, Derek. Also, I was talking to Joe earlier, and I'm going to go.
Yeah, my buddy, I love.
Yeah, I'm going to go up to Jacksonville and snag him and take him over to where the Teens Club used to be, and we're going to recreate the night that he and Gary crashed into the tree. And I hear you were working at the music store. Was it John Eads? They ran up in his.
Yeah, let me stop you there because you're going down a familiar path. So
go ahead.
It was a place called the Sugar Bowl.
Right.
It was over there off of Halleck and whatever West Side cut through road through a neighborhood, and it so happened. Yes, I was still at Paulus, and my friend John Eads, who had left Paulus to work for a big Flowers bakery company because he was a very gifted guitar repair and violin repairman, and he went on to become a Gibson, Martin, and Fender warranty, a station for them in Sevierville, Tennessee. So he's very talented, and he was he had a real late night shift work, and we knew his wife real well. We still know her very well, and the very house that it wasn't a tree they hit a telephone pole.
Oh, really?
So the story about the carport. Now I'm sure they all hit a tree. Everybody's saying the oak tree in my way. That could have just been just to sanctify and glorify the story of.
Oh yeah, right. Okay.
A telephone pole versus an oak tree.
Wow. So this is an exclusive here. See what happens when you talk you talk to the person that knows. Yeah.
Yeah. Inside the biz, they call it. So,
because Joe can't remember. He was just as tore up as Gary.
He was in the car, and Gary blamed Joe for driving, and it was Gary all along. They weren't even a half a mile from where they left, and I guess they'd been drinking, and they were on a curve. Could have killed them, thank God. But I think the way Gary hit the car was one of those Ford like Torino type mid-sized sedans, and he glanced off the pole. Thank God he didn't hit it dead on, or it did hit pretty hard. No, I'll take it. It glanced off the pole, blasted into my friend John Eads and his wife's carport where their Chevy Nova got hit. So it tore half the carport down. The funny thing is John knew Joe Kremp already. And
I know. He got lucky.
And oh, wow. So I get a call from John about 8 the next morning. He said, "You can't believe he paid a visit, quite uninvited." And I said, "Who?" And he told me the whole story. It wasn't even on the news yet. And I knew everything. I knew the whole thing. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I knew. And Joe told me about, that you worked with him down at the music store.
Yeah.
And he says, Derek knows all about it,
I'm sure he may or may not remember. Of course, if you have John Eads, Joe remembers. That's, I guess, because you got to figure if John Eads' name came up, they weren't in the woods hitting the tree. They hit somebody's house.
Oh, yeah.
John Eads and Barry's house. That's the story. Now, there are probably we know they all were capable of wrecking cars. And funny thing about, we'd say about Alan Collins. Alan Collins, he gets 5 acres per gallon.
That's a good one. That's Gene.
5 acres per gallon. Alan Collins, 5 acres. And he called about Billy Powell, his firecracker shampoo. Look at his hair.
What's funny about Gene is he was taking people over to this oak tree and giving them pieces of bark on his West Side tour, saying, "This is where Gary hit." And I said, "Well, Joe Kremp said that's not the tree." And he goes, "I don't give a damn what anybody says. Gary Rossington's hit every tree in Jacksonville."
Yeah. Hey, very well. I'm sure. I'm telling you, Griff. It's probably the truth. He probably hit several things and several trees. There's probably a confusion there. But that one exclusive story, leaving the Sugar Bowl with Joe Kremp, hit a house, my friend's house, and I know it. I knew it firsthand. And I wish you could talk to John, but we lost him about 3 years ago.
So enough of it. Huh? The story. You're the completing puzzle piece in that story.
That's right.
Hey, let me ask you
that if he wants a little reminder or clear his head, I can tell him a little more. He probably knows most of it. He was in the accident. Thank God they weren't killed. But But anyway, yeah, let me run, and if you, we can talk maybe a little later.
Yeah. Hey, I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on, man, and we'll get back with you. We'll get back with you.
It was fun, and I'll tell you real quick one last pass on my skill and getting a modern drummer before everybody else did. Real quick, Rick Marotta, who was in he was like New York and LA's top tier session drummer. Played a lot of the early Steely Dan stuff.
Oh yeah.
And then they put a band together called Ronan with Waddy Wachtel, who was an equally, highly desired guitar player, played all the Ronstadt hits, and they had a band called Ronan. Well, they came out and opened for Rosin and Cons the first 2 months, and I was just a new kid on the block, and I was almost overwhelmed, but I had delivered the goods on our first album. I mean,
definitely.
Gary announced that, man, you saved this band, and we just can't. It was just all over the quality of the play. And Leon and I just hit it off. Just it was like it was cosmic, and that we just dialed in stuff so easily. And so Rick as I got to know him on tour, he just comes up to me and says, "Where the fuck did you come from, man? I never heard anybody play like you from down south." I said, "Well, one thing, I'm blown away for your compliments. This is a Steely Dan studio drummer."
Man, that's a compliment, huh?
Come out and watch me play. I'm going, "Oh my God!" And then he fuck around with me. He had some kind of a club or a bat behind stage, and he'd poke at me while I'm playing the show. Of course, we were having fun. And he just said, "I never heard anybody those kind of chops. You're very creative." He said, "I never heard anybody play like that." And he says, "I'm not saying you're the best drummer I ever heard, but you have some awesome freaking creative ideas." And I was like, I was blown away. And then Roger Hawkins, Aretha's early drummer from all her early hits, Respect and, you got to think, and all those awesome tunes of hers from Muscle Shoals, approached me in that studio and said almost the same thing. He goes, "Man, the Southern Rock's most valuable player." Something like that.
Well, you definitely, that was one hell of a band, Rossin and Collins band. And then, okay. Hey, Derek, I'm going to let you go. I know you're busy, man. And we appreciate it. We're going to get back with you. All right.
Yeah, man. If you get up here, we'll try to get together and we roll Joel over to that. I take you to the house.
Yeah. Let's plan it. We'll do it.
All right, man.
All right.
I might even drag along John's wife, who was in bed when that all happened.
Man, how cool would that be? Yeah,
she'd be happy to.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll plan it. We'll plan it.
All right, good to talk to you. Have a good one.
All right, take care, Derek. All righty, bye-bye. Okay, here we have Mark Howard. I called Mark Howard earlier, and I said, "Hey, Mark, I'm looking for some people that knew Ronnie and some people that that are affiliated with the Skynyrd band. And what better storyteller than Mark Howard? Mark Howard, he's got his True Road Stories podcast that he does, and he's got a story about Ronnie that he's going to tell. He told me, he said, "You better call Craig and ask him if I can tell this story." And I called Craig, and he goes, "I don't give a shit." And so how you doing, Mark?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
Not too bad, man. How's everything going lately?
Well, it's a process,
It's a process.
One leg, it's a process.
Yeah, I mean, you call up a guy that just lost his leg, and you go, "How's it going, man?" And you're supposed to say, "Oh, it's great." What a crappy. But I tell you what, though, man, you got a great attitude. I've always told everybody, I said, I don't know how the hell Mark does it, man, with that attitude he's got. And I tell you what, man, there's some people that I've talked to since I've last talked to you, and they say, "Oh, you don't know that Mark Howard. He was one hell-raising sucker, man, back in the day." And so I didn't realize they say you were like a wild and crazy guy.
That's a fact. And they should have hung me for some of the shit I pulled, but thank God they didn't. But anyway.
Well, yeah. So it's Ronnie's birthday, celebration here, and Craig found Ronnie's tackle box, and we're going to go through it and everything. And we just wanted to get some people on to recognize Ronnie, and figured I'd call Mark Howard up. So what you got, man, as far as a good story for us?
Well, once upon a time, as most people know, I always sat in the back of the airplane. And so I was in the back facing the front of the airplane at the 4-people table. There was the 2-person table and a 4-person table. I was in the aisle seat facing the front of the airplane. So Ronnie comes back and he sits down directly across from me. He looks me in the eye and he says, "Hey, man, how are you?" I said, "I'm doing good. How are you?" He said, "Good." And then Ronnie Eckerman walked back there, and he's standing next to Ronnie looking at me. And, of course, Ronnie and I go way back. He's the one who got me in the business back when they used to do Fleetwood Mac years ago. I went to high school with his other brother, Rodney, and they got me in the business, Ronnie Eckerman. But he was standing there, and Ronnie VanZant looks over to Ronnie Eckerman. He says, "Hey, man, you got a bump?" And Eckerman goes, "No, man, I ain't got none." So Ronnie looks at me. He says, "You got a bump?" I said, "No, I sure don't." So he looks at Ronnie and says, "I'm going to ask you one more time." He says, "You got a bump or not?" Ronnie said, "Well, I may have a little one." Well, Ronnie VanZant looks over at him. He said, "Let me tell you something." He said, "Don't you never, ever fucking lie to me ever again." The look on Ronnie's face was Eckerman's face was priceless.
Yeah. Oh.
And then Ronnie VanZant looks over at me and goes, "You want a bump?"
He asked you if he wanted.
What's taking you so long?
Well, Ronnie didn't think you were lying too, did he?
No, I wasn't lying.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if he did, fuck him, because I wasn't lying. I didn't have a bump. But if he was going to offer me one, yeah, I took one back then. Of course, to this day, I don't do that crap no more. But
yeah,
back in the day, a lot of people say, "Oh, well, that's all y'all did was drugs and party," but that's not true. But it's also not true that we were angels. So
right. I mean, everybody, but if you grew up in the 70s, I mean, it was, there was a lot of crazy stuff going on with your buddies and the rock and roll.
That's right. And that was prevalent with not just rock and roll, but lawyers and even doctors,
oh, yeah.
collar people full of, cocaine was everywhere. So,
but you guys had a job to do, man. You did your job, you did it well, and then whenever you were off, then it was time to have fun. But that's pretty cool though. Ronnie, don't ever lie. Was he serious? Don't ever lie to me. Oh yeah,
he was serious as a heart attack. He was really pissed off about it. Because, he asked Ron, he goes, "Oh, no, I got one." He goes, "I'm going to ask you one more time," because he knew he had some.
And then
when he asked you the first time, he knew better.
And then he asked you, "Did you want some of it?"
Yeah, afterwards. He asked me if I had any. I said no. And then he said, "Ronnie, I'm going to ask you one more time."
Oh, God.
He looks over at me and says, "You want a bump?" I said, "Well, hell yeah, I was taking you so long."
What time, where were you guys? Well, I guess that was on the Street Survivors tour, right?
Yeah, that's the only one I was on with them,
Well, damn, that's about as good a story as you can get right there, I think.
I hope it meets your standard.
Hell yeah. And so how you doing on the True Road Stories? You still doing those? Been a while?
Well, I haven't done any in a while, and I'm ashamed of myself because I've been so lazy. And it's just, this leg has caused so much depression. And it's not just laziness, it's the depression, but it's also my computer was down for like 2 months. I didn't even have a computer. I just got a new one about right before Christmas. I got a new one. So I'm ready to rock. I'm ready to... I really want to get someone to talk to me and ask me questions about stuff on the road. A lot of these podcasts and YouTube things have guests, and it sure makes it a lot better and a lot easier. And I had a couple people say they would do it, but ain't nobody's followed through with it yet.
Well, if you need me to help you out, in any way, you just let me know, man. I'll do anything I can for you. I'm a little. When it comes to the plane crash survivors, I got a soft heart for you fellers.
Well, I appreciate that, and I sincerely appreciate you saying you'd help me out, man. You'd be a great one to get.
Yeah, man. Just let me.
I'd love to get you on there, man. That'd be great.
Yeah, just let me know, and I mean, and then we want to get you back on too.
I'm always willing, and you don't know what it does for my so-called depression. I don't want to be a big sissy boy about it, but it was quite a thing losing your leg at 70 years old,
Well, you've been through a lot of crap in your life, and I've got a little bit of an idea. I know you've had, what is it, 27 hip surgeries or something
17.
like 17. Well, you know how the stories grow. Well, I had one hip surgery, and that was enough for me. I tell you, but and they did that back in the day with you, back when they were experimenting with hip replacements. But that's,
I agree.
that's. I mean, are you feeling all right now, though, Mark?
Yeah, my health is fairly good, other than just getting around. Matter of fact, I'm going tomorrow to get my new leg fitted. I got a new socket. This will be my third socket they made, because your nub keeps shrinking, and they need to make. First of all, they start putting these little latex pads in there, and then they give you these socks to put over your. Well, it's kind of, the thing is kind of like a wetsuit. It sticks to your body really tight.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Got a strap that goes through your leg. Well, they got socks now you put over that to help fill the gap as your leg shrinks. And then finally they got to make you a new socket. So this will be my third socket, and I go get it. They made it last week, and I go make sure it fits all right and all that tomorrow, and then they'll finish it out and I'll have it. Hopefully it'll be my last one.
Seemed like I saw you walking around somewhere, videotaped you. Somebody showed you were walking somewhere.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't walk without crutches, but I walk. I was at the monument last October.
Oh, okay.
And I was walking around. That's probably what you saw.
That's where I saw, yeah. Yeah.
It was so cool that Jim Brace, who was in the plane with me, he was my roommate in Houston during that time. And he showed up to the monument last October, and I got to tell you, it was unbelievable. His daughter came and her boyfriend. Well, her boyfriend has an airplane, so they flew up to Macomb and then came down, and he spent 3 days with us. And Bobby McDaniels really took a shining to Jim Brace and his daughter and her boyfriend. And then the last day, I didn't know Bobby was the sheriff, but he is.
Oh, he is now? Because I didn't know that.
Yeah. He come in on the Sunday we were leaving. He came in and he had his uniform on. He wanted Jim's daughter's boyfriend to take him for a ride in the airplane. So he took him up in the airplane, and I saw him. We went to say goodbye to everybody at the monument, and we saw him do a little flyover. So, but it was just awesome. The whole thing was awesome. And, oh, my God, I could tell you stories about this last trip with Jim Brace there, but I'm going to save it for another time.
Well,
right now,
we can do it on that, on the True Road Stories there. Just let me know, man, and we'll work something out.
I will. I'll definitely use you, man. I ain't above using you, Griff.
That's good to know, man. That's good to know.
That's cool, man. What else you want to know, bro?
Well, that's it. I just wanted to get a little Ronnie VanZant story from somebody that knew him, and I've got 4 people that I've got Gene, Joe Kremp, Derek Hess, and you, and then I'm gonna wrap it up, man, because me and Craig are gonna go on, and we're gonna go through that tackle box, and then I'll air this, and people will be happy as hell to hear it.
When are you all doing that?
In the morning, first thing in the morning.
What time?
6 o'clock's when the podcast airs. It's called the Wake and Bake.
6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, but you're going to be you're 2 hours behind, I think.
That would be 5 o'clock here, man.
Well, you can. It's recorded. You can watch it anytime, man. Anytime.
Yeah, well, I was kind of hoping to log in and just be there and listen to it in person, but I ain't getting up that early.
No, man, I don't blame you. All right, Mark. Well, I'm gonna run, man, and I appreciate it. Appreciate the story, and everybody's gonna be glad to hear from you, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you very much, and belated or not belated, but heavenly happy birthday, Ronnie.
Yeah, amen.